Good evening, one and all. On behalf of Dr. Agarwal's Institute of Optometry, I'm very happy to welcome you all for the brand new season of Optometry series. So we are here in season three. So we have successfully completed two seasons. So first season we focused on random topics in optometry, but that are so useful. In second season, we started with anatomy and completing the physiology and many disease conditions of all the structures of the eye with a lot of support and guidance and like good comments from all our audiences. Now here we are with instruments, automatic instruments as the main focus in season three, and I'm very happy to welcome my support system Anshika ma'am and Miss Sandhya. Thank you so much both of you for your continuous support. So here we are in season three. Anshika ma'am, would you like to share more things about season three, ma'am? So what are you looking forward in season three, ma'am? Because of course our team works, but what are you looking for in season three, ma'am?
So I think, as you very rightly said, we've completed two seasons nicely, and with this season, now we all know that we've moved so much into instruments and diagnostics, which is always something that as optoms we should know how the instruments work and the optics behind it. So I think this season will give us a revision of all smallest to the biggest instruments possible, their optics, their applications. So I do look forward to a lot of students being interested in listening to it and getting a lot of inputs from the moderators, especially clinical optoms who are really able to give us a lot of input. So eagerly excited for this season, and I'm very happy with that. With us, we have Swathi today as a moderator. So she's an optometrist currently working at Jaya Eye Care, and I'm very happy, Swathi, that you were able to join today with us. So can we move ahead with the introduction of the MC and the speaker for today?
Yes, ma'am. So today's episode is actually about lensometer. It is going to be useful for many of them actually. And not only optometrists, I guess even opticians can also get used by this particular episode. So over to the MC for the day. Nafia, please do the needful.
Good evening, everyone. I am Nafia Sultana from third year Bachelor of Optometry student at Dr. Agarwal Institute of Optometry. It gives me great pleasure to welcome our moderator for today's Miss Swathi. Swathi ma'am is a senior consultant optometrist at Jaya Eye Care Center, Mandaveli, Chennai. Ma'am completed her Bachelor of Optometry from the Elite School of Optometry. She possesses extensive expertise in optometric concepts including diffraction, dispensing, and differential diagnosis. Her areas of specialization include binocular vision, computer vision clinic, vision therapy, amblyopia clinic, and prism dispensing. With over 11 years of experience, ma'am has contributed significantly to clinical practice, research, training, academics, and administration. She has also participated in NABH training and attended workshops on clinical audit and the new NABH HSC ECO standards. We are truly delighted to have such a versatile and accomplished personality with us today. Thank you so much, ma'am, for joining us and taking the time to moderate this session. Now it's my pleasure to introduce today's presenter, Ms. Meera Jasmine, a third year student, Bachelor of Optometry student at Dr. Agarwal Institute of Optometry. Ms. Meera, please begin your presentation.
Thank you, Nafia. Evening, everyone. So today topic is mastering the lensometer. So we will be seeing optics, principles, and instrumentation of the lensometer. Introduction. Lensometer is also known as foci meter. The main use of the lensometer is to measure the back vertex power and front vertex power of a spectacle lens. It is a device designed to measure the refractive power prescription of a unknown lens, whether it is spherical, cylindrical, with axis and also the optic center. Here we can see the spherical lines and the cylindrical lines, which will be seen in the lensometer. Principle. The principle of the lensometer is Badal principle. The Badal principle is based on the observation that if the eye is placed at the focal point of a positive lens, the visual image of an object located between the lens and anterior focal point will always obtain the same visual angle. So this is the anatomical picture of the lensometer.
Then we are moving to the types of lensometer. There are two types of lensometer. One is manual lensometer and then another one is automated lensometer. As you can see the manual lensometer picture and the automated lensometer. Manual lensometer. Manual lensometer gives the accurate power of a lens and will used in the optical industry mostly. A manual lensometer is portable and can be carried anywhere. But a person needs to have a better idea to measure the power of a lens by manually. The features of manual lensometer are accurate measurements with external power reading, then dual supply system, clear green illumination target, energy efficient LED illumination, possibility of accurate centering and marking of lenses. The lensometer system is consists of three major systems. One is observation system, then eyepiece, then the reticle. So the observation system is based on the Keplerian telescope with 2+ lenses and an inverted target image, which is the objective lens. Then the eyepiece, nothing but the ocular lens. Next one, the reticle. Concentric circles and crosshairs focused by eyepiece. So as we see in the lensometer system in this picture. So this is the parts of the lensometer. On the further slides, we will be discussing the parts of the lensometer. So this is the anatomy of the lensometer. Now moving on to the parts of the lensometer. The first one is on-off switch, which is the main power switch. Next one is locking lever, which is used to raise or lower the position of the lensometer according to user's individual height. So as we can see in this image, the second one. Then the third one is table lever, which is used to adjust the sitting height of lens. The next one is eyepiece, which is the main. It is mounted in a screw type focusing mechanism. It plays an important role in the accuracy of the reading. So it is essential to focus the eyepiece on the individual eye of each user. The rubber cone is used to prevent the scratching of the user's eye gear. So continuing the parts of lensometer, next one is lens stop. Lens stop is used to measure the lens to where it is placed. So next one is lens table, the resting place for the spectacle frame while neutralizing the lens power. Next one is gimbal, nothing but the lens holder. The lens holder holds the lens in place while taking a reading. Gimbal is a circular piece so that swivels with legs and touches the lens and holds it firmly for taking reading. The next one is axis wheel. So this is used to orient and neutralize the cylindrical axis. So the next one is power drum. Power drum is a hand wheel with numbered scale readings, that is between the +20 to -20 diopter, which is used for reading refractive power of lens. The reading interval in scale is usually in 0.12 diopters and steps for higher power of 0.25 diopter. The next part is marking device control, which is the lens marker. Pins are pins controlled by the handle and used to spot mark the lens either at prism reference point or optical center. Then ink pad. Ink pad, it holds the spotting ink. So pins of marking device control and ink need to be replaced and re-inked regularly. The next part of the lensometer is cornered sleeve, which is the lensometer reticle adjustment knob. It is used to rotate the lensometer reticle to orient the prism base. Next one is the prism compensating device knob, which is used to read prism amount greater than 5 prism diopter. New models of lensometer have an attached rotated prism to dial in 0 to 25 prism diopters. Okay. So next type of lensometer is automated lensometer. Automated lensometer is a fully automatic, well-programmed device mostly used in clinics. It is easy and faster and can print prescription also. It is less accurate when compared to manual lensometer. It also determines the sphere, cylinder, axis, prism, and distance between optical center. Now moving on to the features of automated lensometer. The features are UV transmittance measurement, pupillary distance measurement, space saving vertical orientation, full color tilt, screen for easy viewing while standing or seated, easily accessible menu to customize your settings, data output options including a built-in printer and USB ports. It can be configured to interface with EMR system also. Then it can be used to measure the soft and hard contact lenses. Now moving on to the procedures of the lensometer. So the first procedure is the manual lensometer. Switch on the lensometer. It is the first and foremost step. Then focusing the eyepiece. Rotate the eyepiece totally anti-clockwise. Then keep the power drum at 0 diopter. As you can see in the picture, it is in the 0 diopter. So now see through the eyepiece and slowly rotate the eyepiece in clockwise direction until the miles seen as cross and the protractor will get clear and sharp. Then lens measurement. Place the lens on the lens holder and now see through the eyepiece, you will appreciate a blur. Now slowly rotate the power drum until the minus will get clear. You have to note down the readings by seeing the power drum. Now we are moving on to the how to determine the lens power. So the first lens power is spherical lens. If all the lines or dots of the target are in focus at a given setting of the power wheel, it is a spherical lens. So the lens is spherical, then marking the optical center. As you can see in the picture, we have marked the optical center and all the targets are in a clear line. Then check that the center of the lens coincides with the center of the target. When this is so, the lens is correctly positioned and the optical center could be marked. While there is no center dot, the whole set of dots can be framed within the lines of the graticule to locate the center. Repeat the same procedure for the other lens also. For further understanding, we have a video for the spherical lens. Here the video. As you can see the minus, which is first blurred and then it gets clear. Also the protractor is also clear. Hope you understand. Moving on to the next lens, which is the cylindrical lens. Algebraically, add the numbers shown now on the power wheel. With the number previously recorded as the sphere, this is the cylinder amount, then record the axis. To transpose the cylinder, rotate the axis at 90 and start over. In this picture, you can see both the spherical and cylindrical lens mire, which is under the eyepiece. In the first picture, the blurred cylinder lines were seen and the clear spherical line is visible. On the second picture, the clear cylinder lines is visible and the blurred spherical lines is seen. So at final, both are cleared. Then the next lens is spirocylinder lens. First step is finding the spherical power, as I already mentioned. So rotate the power wheel until one set of lines, which is the stretched dot, become visible. Then start with the higher positive power or lower negative power. The axis drum will need to be rotated to ensure that the lines are unbroken. Note the power on the power wheel. Next, find the cylindrical power is the step. Finding the cylindrical power. Rotate the power wheel until the second set of lines, stretched dots, become clear. The second power reading minus the first reading will give the power of the cylindrical and its correct sign. At last, finding the axis is the step. Note the direction of the lines of the stretched dots at the second reading. This is the axis. The rotatable line and the gratitudes used to line up with the stretched dots to determine the axis. So for further understanding, we also have a video for spherocylinder lens also. So as I mentioned, you can see that the Mayas are getting clear. First the spherical, the sphere lines are clear, and then we are clearing the cylindrical lens. So now the both Mayas were cleared. Now the manual lensometer spherocylinder calculation. So A is denoted as the first power reading. As I already mentioned and we saw in the video, when one set of Mayas is focused, it is mentioned as A. And then the second power reading is denoted as B, which is the other set of Mayas is focused. Then the prescription is to be written as A/B minus A across axis of the B. For example, I got a -2 diopter as a first power reading and then -3.5 diopter as the second power reading. So my first power reading, which is the first focus, A is equal to -2 diopter. And my second power reading, which is the second focus, B is equal to -3.50 diopter. Then the axis of B is 180 degree. So to get the cylinder power, we are just differencing the second focus difference the first focus, nothing but the B minus A form. So -3.50 minus of -2 is equal to -1.50 diopter, which is my cylinder power. Then the final prescription should be in the format A/B minus A across axis of B. So same is applicable here. -2 / -1.50 across 180 degree. The 180 degree is the axis of the B. Next, moving on to the bifocal lens. So how to measuring the bifocal lens? For measuring the distance correction of a bifocal lens, we want to measure the lens at the optical center. So in the bifocal lens, there will be distance and near as we know. So for the distance correction of the bifocal lens, we want to measure the lens at the optical center. Then the optical center of a conventional bifocal lens is just above the center of the horizontal line of the bifocal lens and read the near correction from the center of the lower segment. For determining add power, turn glasses around to read from the front vertex. Now, to determine the add power on a bifocal, flip the bifocal over so that the lens top of the lensometer touches the front surface of the lens. It is to be noted, remember the base curve and add segment are both located on the front surface of the lens. Then adjust the lens so it touches the distance portion of the lens. Usually start with the right lens. Record the power reading using the lensometer as you would in a single vision lens. The power reading is known as the front vertex power for the distance / carrier calculation. Adjust the lens so that the lens top is now touching the add / near segment portion of the bifocal lens. Record the power of this segment using the same procedure as before the distance correction portion of the lens. This power is known as the total near power. Now the recording of bifocal lens. To determine the add power, we will use some equation. So use the following equation that near power is equal to distance plus add. Then add is equal to near minus distance. So repeat it for other lens also. For example, if the distance was determined to be +2 -1 across 180 and the total near power was +4 from lensometry, then the add power would be by using the add is equal to near minus distance and the near power equation we get the add power is equal to total near power distance correction is equal to +4 +2, which is +4 minus the +2 is +2. So this is how we will record the bifocal lens reading. Finally, the progressive lens. Progressive lens clean the lens and ensure correct orientation. Position in the distant portion in the lensometer. So for progressive lens, we will be using a micro-inching marking. As you can see in this picture, we are marking the micro-inching in the progressive lens. So then we are marking the distance reference zone by using the progressive axis marking chart. Here you can see that by using the axis marking progressive axis marking chart, we are marking the distance reference zone at the distance. So, as we saw in the video, locate and mark the distance reference point. So that is for DRP. Then measure and record sphere, cylinder, axis and prism if present. Then same as the distance reference point, move down the progressive corridor to locate the near reference point, which is at the near. Then measure the near power at the near reference point. For add power, calculate add power is equal to near power minus distance power. Verify permanent lens marking such as fitting cross, distance reference point, near reference point, prism reference point, add power. So verify all these things. Then mark reference point if required for verification and dispensing. Ensure measurements are taken along the progressive corridor and avoid peripheral distortion zones. So we are aligning the marked distance zone on the lens holder. So as you can see in the video, the distance reference zone, then same procedure as for the near reference zone also. At last, the errors. What are the errors we can see in this? Calibration issues, dirt or dust, and then improper alignment, lens tilt, incorrect focusing. So these are the major common errors we are seeing in the lensometer. So first one is calibration issues. Lensometers need to be regularly calibrated to ensure accurate measurements. Then dirt or dust. Dust or dirt or smudges on the lensometer lens rest on measuring surfaces can interfere with accurate measurement. The next error is improper alignment. If the eyeglasses or lenses are not properly aligned with the lensometer's axis, the readings may be inaccurate. So to ensure that the lenses are positioned correctly and that the axis is aligned properly. Lens tilt, it can be also an error. If the lenses are not held vertically in the lensometer, it can cause error in prism measurement and other reading also. Incorrect focusing. Lensometer require proper focusing to get accurate measurements. If the focus is not adjusted correctly, the readings might be distorted. So these are the errors we can face. And these are my references. Thank you.
Thank you, Meera, for this wonderful presentation. You covered all the aspects like optics, instrumentation, and everything. So thank you. Now I request Swathi ma'am to add few valuable clinical points.
Hi everyone, thank you for the opportunity. And Meera, it was an elaborate presentation on the optics and the procedure of the lensometry. I will add a few points on the procedure and the best practices for for lensometry. Yeah. So before that, let me insist the importance of the proper lensometry to the audience, because many a times a good measurement, performing a good lensometry has saved the day of many a clinical optometrist. At the same time, a bad lensometry or an incorrect lensometry recording has landed as optoms in deep troubles. So, on that note, I will start off with the best practices for the lensometry. So it will first thing, like as mentioned rightly by Meera, calibration is very important. So how will you calibrate the lensometer? We do this by using our standard trial case lenses. We know the power of the trial case lens. We place it on the lensometer and make sure it is showing the accurate power of the trial lens case that we use. It is as simple as that. Regularly perform calibration for both low powers and high powers in the lensometer that you are using. And when you are using manual lensometry, calibrating focusing the eyepiece is every time is also a form of calibration of the lensometer. That is, you're calibrating your eye, your visual system to perform the lensometer. Then, the next point, as rightly mentioned by Meera, is cleaning the optical surfaces regularly. My third point will be when you're using automated lensometer, make sure you use the correct mode, lens mode, whether it is a progressive or a single vision. Make sure you use the correct mode and you're using this correct eye, selecting the correct eye for that glass. Okay, and document the readings immediately and correctly. It is very important. Don't keep it on your mind, jotting it in one paper or then losing it. Then, don't do all that. Document it correctly and immediately, whether it is a written record or an electronic medical record. Then document the glass power accurately in this form. I, then the diopter sphere slash diopter cylinder into axis, add prism if any, whether the PG has any tint. If there is any tint, you mention the tint, what color tint it is there. Then you mention the duration of the glasses, and then you mention the status of the glasses. By status of the glasses, I mean whether is there any scratches on the glasses or whether the lenses are broken or the temple is broken. So why this is important during lensometry is it will give an exact idea to you or the prescribe whoever is prescribing the glasses, what is the exact need, what has been the patient's experience with his current glasses, why is he wanting to have a change of the glasses, what is he expecting from him. Okay, and at the same time, if there are scratches, you can safeguard yourself. Because of scratches, the measurements may or may not be accurate. So in that case, you need to document all the status of the glasses is important. Then when the patient is having some troubles, using the ink pad, right? We saw in one of the parts there is an ink marker. Use it to mark the point where the target is centered on the reticle. You put the glasses on the patient and make sure whether this point that you have marked is aligning with the patient's pupillary center. That is the corneal reflex at the glasses, the first Purkinje image, right? So it should align with that. If that in that case the lenses are centered. If it is not, you have to look for decentration. Okay. Now I hope the audience are clear with the principle of the lensometer, right? While explaining the procedure, the first step was focusing the eyepiece. Why do we need to do this? Can Meera answer? Can I wait for Meera to answer?
Yes.
Why do we need to focus the eyepiece?
Because some individuals may have some refractive power and some individuals may not have that. So for focusing the eyepiece is important for that purpose, and then to clear the protractor in the lensometer, that is also important. So for that, focusing the eyepiece is the first foremost thing.
Correct. Okay. So whether we have refractive error or not, this is important. And when a person has refractive error, they have to wear the glasses. They have to wear their correction and then only perform manual lensometry. So even if you are hemetropic, you need to focus the eyepiece, right? Why do we need this? Is we have to relax the eye, just like we do for keratometry or just like we do for flash retinoscopy. We need to relax the eye so that the only target, the only power, the optical surface that is clearing or blurring the target is your PGP and not your eyes. Okay. For that purpose only, we are focusing the eyepiece every time we do the lensometry. Okay. Is it clear now? Yeah. So another useful pearl I would like to share is regarding measurement of pulse. Okay. So like you showed, before placing on the lensometry only, you have to mark the pulse. Okay. You have to mark the pulse for the DRP and the prism reference point before placing on the lensometer. Okay. And I would like to insist all beginners to start practicing with the lensometer every time they are going to measure the PGP of a pan, so that you get practice to measure on the right locations. Okay, at least to begin with, please mark using the layout chart and then measure the power. And you can measure the near power at the near reference point, though you can skip this last step, as just below the reference points the ad will be directly engraved, which you can see when you're holding against the bright light. Okay, it will be on the temporal side of the lens, you can see that. And then you mentioned about measuring the prisms, right? So how do we measure prisms? I will not go into detail, but along with the horizontal line and the protractor like axis readings, the reticle has concentric rings. And when you're placing the center of the lens on the on the gimbal, the target, the Myers, should be centered on the reticle, in the center of the innermost circle. It should be in the center of the innermost circle. If it is not at the center of the innermost circle and it is displaced, it means that the lens is either decentered or has ground prisms into it. Like when we give for diplopia, if the patient has diplopia, we ground prisms in the glasses to correct for his diplopia, the squint. Okay, so in which case we can differentiate between whether a lens is decentered or it has ground prisms in it. How do we do this? If it is just decentration, when you move the lens, the Myers will come to the center of the reticle at some point. That means it is just decentration. You mark the point where the Myers are at the center of the reticle and calculate the difference from the PD of the glasses and the PD of the patient. You get the amount of decentration, and from that you can get the prisms induced using the Prentice's rule. Okay, but in case of ground prisms, you can never bring the Myers to the center of the reticle. Okay, so in which case, where the Myers are located, I mean that, and at which concentric circle the Myers are located will give the amount of prism diopter and the direction of the base, which is why noting the eye correctly is very important, because base direction will change with respect to the eye we are measuring. Okay, and so these are my valuable add-ons to your wonderful presentation. And I would like to conclude by saying that as optoms, our goal is to make the patient happy with his or her glasses. A good lensometry is essential for refraction, dispensing, and his or her happy ending thereafter. So I thank Dr. Agarwal Institute of Optometry for the opportunity, and I am happy to answer any questions now. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. So you added more valuable clinical points as well as such a wonderful words for the optometry students as well. I think it will help both students as well as practitioners, I think, ma'am. And from students' perspective, I have few questions, but I think you already answered for my first question. The first question is how do we measure prism diopters using lensometer? And you have given an excellent explanation for that. So thank you so much for that. And the second question is, ma'am, how does lens tilt or improper positioning affect the readings, ma'am?
Okay. So when you are not using the gimbal to hold the lens in place and you are going to, the lens is not fully rested on the lensometer, it can cause vertex distance measure errors. Okay. The lens is not going to be fully placed on the seating. It can induce up to plus or minus zero point 0.5 diopters of error in your measurements. And that plus or minus zero point 0.5 error in the measurement, trust me, it can lead to a good deal of problems when you are dispensing the glasses incorrectly. Okay, because every during after every refraction we record the preference whether the glasses was better or the acceptance is better. At that point you are going to end up completely confused if your lensometry is wrong. And improper seating can cause disturbances in plus up to plus or minus zero point 0.5 diopter on more than 10 degree of axis errors can be induced. And with respect to pals, again, if you are not going to proper positioning, if you are not ensuring proper positioning, your complete distance measurement itself could go wrong. And from there, everything consecutively will go wrong. That is why proper seating is important.
Thank you, ma'am. And the next question is, how do we decide when to measure front vertex or back vertex power? When do we decide that? Right.
So most commonly we measure only the back vertex power, right? Except when you are using bifocals, you have to the bifocals the the near segment is added at the front vertex power. So when you are using bifocals, it is better to flip the lens around and measure it using the front vertex power.
Thank you, ma'am. And the next
So,
question is, how do we handle scratched or dirty lenses during measurement, ma'am? How it will affect the reading?
yeah, see, that is why I mentioned immediately in the beginning itself. It is a best practice to document scratches. Okay, that will help you safeguard even if your measurements go askew. Okay, so if there are scratches, yes, your measurements can be affected because of the scratches. You can you especially in progressives again the ad may not be visible and only one of the reference circle might be visible, in which case always whatever readings, whatever engravings are visible, you go with that and proceed to mark accordingly in the layout chart, and then take the measurement directly only from the near reference point. Even though you cannot see the ad engraving there, you mark using the whatever visible references. You can go even if the symbol of the brand is visible, right? That also you can place it on the layout chart and go marking the other reference points from there. So look for the engravings. Nowadays, even single vision lenses are coming with the engravings. Okay, so whatever visible engraving is visible there, you can go begin that you can use that as a beginning and go from there. That would be my tip for scratch lenses. Always document every finding. That's it.
Yes, ma'am. And we have another two questions, ma'am. Can I ask it?
Yes.
Uh, Ma'am, with technology improving, people use automated lensometer. Is manual lensometer still important?
See,
Meter?
regarding that, right? See, manual lensometer is always the gold standard, we can say, right? And it will always be a lifesaver. Automated lensometers, yes, are accurate and they are getting advanced every time. They are really time saving, right? But if you would ask me, I would always prefer doing a manual lensometer, and it is always better to get practiced with be an expert in manual lensometer and enjoy the benefits of automated lensometers. Yeah, because they can be fast and they can give printouts. And if you don't know what you are looking for in an automated lensometer and you are blindly taking the readings of the automated lensometer, it is going, it has the chances of making errors. Understand the nuances and use the automated lensometer wisely.
Yes, ma'am. On last question, ma'am. So we have
Yeah.
radioscope for calculating the power of contact lens. Do we use lensometer to calculate the power of contact lens?
See, when you are you cannot you use lensometers to measure the power of soft contact lenses. It is not advised for safety reasons also. But use yes, you can use lensometers to measure the power of hard contact lenses like RGP and scleral lenses. Okay, so when you are measuring the power of the contact lenses, make sure to keep the lenses at the right position on top of the lens holder so that you get the accurate power.
Thank you,
Yeah.
ma'am. So thank you so much, ma'am. That's all with the Q&A session. Anshi, ma'am, do you have any points to add on to this topic, ma'am?
Hi, Swathi. Thank you so much. No, I think it was a very comprehensive session. I'm actually very happy. Lensometer sounds very small, but then how Meera brought about the importance of even starting from calibration to how each step of spherical, spherocylindrical, cylindrical, progressives, bifocal, how do we measure everything, showing those small, small videos. So that was very nice, Meera. Very good effort. And Swathi, thank you so much for bringing out concepts on prisms and how even though we have technology coming up, still manual lensometers are important. And that's really important that spectacles, a happy patient is definitely going to come back to us. And
That's
that is what should be the end goal. And if we are prescribing spectacles to anyone or if we are checking anybody's spectacle power, it has to be accurate. Otherwise, there is no point in doing a lensometer which is inaccurate. So thank you, Meera. Thank you, Swathi, so for so much of your inputs. And over to you, Gomati.
yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much, ma'am. And I'd like to thank Sandhya, ma'am, for the commendable work on the PowerPoint. And Meera, it was a wonderful presentation, but Sandhya, ma'am, has put a lot of effort to make the PowerPoint much more easier. And so thank you, Sandhya, ma'am, for the efforts.
Thank you, Komati ma'am. Actually, I want to take this time to thank MM team member, Mr. Niranjan. So thanks to you also, you are the MM team manager. So thanks to you. And we got a chance to record those videos first. We had a troubleshooting that. I think MM team helped us out. So thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you. Actually, I'd like to add one point that was told by Swathi, ma'am, few minutes back. Manual lensometer, we can actually use all these things, but automated lensometer, we have to be expert in the manual lensometer, and we can actually enjoy the perks of having an automated lensometer. I think it's a high time that I'll highlight about having the technology. So let's learn everything, but let's use the technology to learn it much more easier. So the MM team is doing that, so we are very happy about it. So thank you so much, Sandhya ma'am, and thank you so much, Anshi ma'am. And our presenter for the day, Swathi ma'am, we can't thank you enough because your addition to this very first episode added a lot of values to the season 3, ma'am. So thank you so much for joining as the moderator.
Thank you very much.
Dear audience, thank you all for your continuous support towards Optometry series. If you like this video, give a thumbs up and share with all your friends. The announcement for this particular week is admissions are open for fellowship in optometry and internship, pan-India internship in optometry at Dr. Agarwal's Institute of Optometry. We'll see you in the next episode. Thank you all. Thank you, team.
I'll take leave there. Thank you. Bye.